those of you who had just come in, if you could mute your mics once the video comes on, that would be great. Thanks, Daniel. Tottenham. We've got a lot of Londoners today. Southwest, Paolo from Southwest London, Northwest London, Slough, Hertfordshire, Hackney. East London's well represented today. Great, Anjum, we're flying the flag. Fantastic. King's Cross, great. Boreham Wood, Hertfordshire, fantastic. En route to Leeds, oh, that is wonderful. I really admire that. I hope you enjoy. India, Ruby from India, welcome from India. Aaron from Berlin, amazing. That's great to see people from all over the world. That's exactly what we wanted. Fantastic. So those of you who are just coming in, we're asking you to mute your mics, and if you could put in the chat your name and where you're zooming in from, that would be fantastic. It's great to see where everyone's coming from. Keith is from Nunhead, coming in from Nunhead. That's great. The Southeast again. Very near me. Great to see you as well, Keith. Oh yeah, great to have you here. Malaysia, fantastic. That's fantastic. Oh, I've been to Malaysia years ago. Stunning, beautiful, beautiful place. Jessica, also from Nunhead, London. Amazing. Okay, so please keep sharing in the chat where you're from. I could just spend the hour looking at that, but I won't. So welcome everybody. No doubt a few more people will be coming in, but I'm going to start because we have so much exciting things to hear today. Happy Pride, I want to say to all. Really excited to celebrate Pride with a diverse people here from all over the world. It's a true celebration of Pride and some amazing speakers that we have today. So firstly, I'd just like to welcome you all to the first in our series of TPF Talks. I am Bella Akuya, I'm Head of Foundation with the Photography Foundation. For those of you who haven't heard of us, TPF was created in 2019 and provides pathways to professional photography for less advantaged young adults aged 18 to 25 in London. We offer photography training, practical work experience, and routes to a career in the creative industry. So Sadie is going to pop a link or show a video. We're going to show you a quick video which will introduce the Photography Foundation way better than I could. So in a moment, Sadie will share her screen, I'll mute my mic, and we will have a little look. Sadie, I think you need to unmute your mic. We can't hear you, but we'll have a little go and see if we can figure out the volume, get that working. If not, the video is definitely on our website. So I'd really encourage you to have a look at the website, and we have a brilliant video that we've recorded there that tells you all about who the Photography Foundation is. But we'll move on just to make sure that we keep to time. So this is our first TPF talk. So that's why I'm so excited to have you all here. And to give you a bit of context, the thought behind our TPF talks, we're going to introduce ourselves, the speakers, and tell you what to expect today. So TPF Talks is an important platform to help us at TPF live our values and reach a wider audience. It's a monthly networking and learning space that amplifies underrepresented voices, encouraging the next generation of photographers and creatives to be part of the conversation, build their networks, and create space for themselves in the industry. We hope for it to be an inspirational, safe space where representation and diversity is celebrated. We will move these talks to our studio in Shoreditch from next month, where I hope to see many of you. More details about next month's event will be given at the end of the talk and is listed on our website. And also, recruitment for our next 6-month training program has launched, and Sadie will put that in the chat as well, so that you can have a look if you're interested and you meet the criteria to join us on our training program. And much more information is available there. And next month's event is a great opportunity to see our space, meet the team, and ask questions to us and the trainees. So I'd really encourage you to have a look if you're interested. Although the talks aren't just for trainees, the talks are for everybody who's interested in representation in photography. Okay, so to introduce myself a little bit more, and then the speakers. I am, as I mentioned, Bella Akuya, and I oversee all of the work at the foundation. I design and develop all of the programs and community programs, as well as teaching on the program. I also have my own socially engaged portraiture practice, and I run a documentary collective called Red, Rolled and Seen. Sadie will introduce herself.
And so I'm Sadie Gaines. I'm the foundation coordinator here at TPF. I joined the team in April this year, and my role is supporting the trainees and workshop facilitators to ensure everything runs smoothly throughout the programme. I've also programmed this TPF Talks series, and we'll be running in the studio over the summer. My own practice is a DIY style of a mixture of analog and digital photography, and I take my own images as well. Thank you. Back to Bella.
Thanks, Sadie. So today we are really excited to have a panel of talented industry professionals and photographers discussing queer representation in photography while sharing their experience and advice. So today we're lucky enough to have Alia Romagnoli, who is a freelance photographer and art director, currently based in India in the UK, and she's zooming in from India. Callum Hughes is a British visual artist based in Berlin. And Anjum Mouj is an unconscious bias trainer, trustee and activist, and she's based in the UK, zooming in from East London, for all of the East Londoners who are on the Zoom today. They will each spend about 10 minutes introducing themselves, their practice, and how they engage with representation in the work they do. We'll have time for questions at the end, so please do share your questions in the chat. So as soon as the speakers start and share their work, if a question comes to mind, feel free to share it in the chat and we will curate that for the end. Or when they finish speaking, we will have a Q&A and you can unmute your mic if you prefer not to write, or you can share your question in the chat. We'll do our best to field it to the speakers. So without further ado, I'll stop speaking, thankfully, and we'll start off with our first talk with Alia, who will share her screen.
Can everyone see that? Yeah, okay, great. Hello, I'm Alia. I'm a photographer and, yeah, so I'm a photographer and visual artist, and thank you so much for having me on this panel. I'm really excited to for the discussion later and for any questions. There we go. So I am half Indian and half Italian, but I grew up in India, and a lot of my work is inspired by my environment and my upbringing. So I'd say that this slide is like a good representation of what influences my work. I call it a mood board of like everything I work on, or all my series really. These are just photos that I've taken on my phone over the last few years. And I really love color and old Bollywood imagery, especially ones from the 1970s and 80s. And yeah, so that's kind of where my influences come from, really. So I moved to London 6 years ago, and I moved because I did a course in film and television and specialized in production design and cinematography, and that really facilitated my photographic practice as well, and influenced like the way I make my work, really. So I focus on fashion and portraiture mostly, and yeah, I guess you can kind of see where my influences come from. This is just an overview of my work. And then there's obviously more on my Instagram and my website. So yeah, I kind of just wanted to talk a bit about some of the projects I've done over the last few years, and I guess go a little bit more in depth into them. So the first one I wanted to talk about was a series that I did with Levi's in collaboration with Queer Britain. And this was created a couple of years ago. And it was basically a photo series about chosen families within the LGBTQIA+ community. And this is really important for me personally in my career, just because up until 2 years ago, I hadn't actually exhibited my work in a physical space, even though I'd been working for about right now, I think I've been working as a photographer for 4 to 5 years, but I hadn't actually taken the step to, exhibit my work in real life. So this was really important for me and super special. And the series that I did for this focused on LGBTQ+ individuals in the South Asian community and their stories and their chosen family as well. And the reason why I wanted to focus on this specifically was, one, because I hadn't really seen that kind of representation on a mainstream scale in that way, especially like Desi stories. That's not something I'd really seen talked about, in LGBT media, aside from obviously within South Asia. So this series I was really inspired by old like Indian family portraiture and kind of like the seriousness of it all, but I wanted to change my approach and kind of make it fun in a way, but still reference like old South Asian portraiture. So also my practice is heavily focused on the beauty of DIY and just DIY culture in general. Very early on in my career, which like didn't start that long ago, but from the beginning, I've always tried to find budget-friendly ways of approaching photography. And I think that photography in general can be a daunting industry to go into, especially because, you don't always know where to start. So I really wanted to, initially it was because I had to be DIY, but over time I found that I really loved, that way of working and that practice. So most of my work up until now has been, charity shop camera, car boot sale camera, fabric from like Shepherd's Bush Market or wherever I could find it. Just, that kind of approach, shooting in my bedroom, shooting in a living room or in a garden. And that was also how I created the Levi's project as well. That was entirely shot in a living room. And I really wanted to, I think that also sometimes changes the energy of a shoot. And I really like that. So I've continued that practice, in my work. And here are a couple more pictures. And yeah, most of my series are like that. So yeah, one series that I wanted to talk about is a collaboration I did with a henna company called Hak That. This series I actually did very, very early on in, you know, my fashion and portrait portfolio. This was like, I think I shot this in 2017. And this was kind of the first time I ever explored LGBTQ identities and just queer narratives in general. I hadn't actually, you know, talked to my family about any of it or my friends, so nobody really knew. It was kind of, it came as a surprise, but I felt ready at this time when I was making this series to, I guess, come out, you know, in a photo series and talk about my identity in that way, you know, through this. And from that series, this photo was like a pivotal moment for me. For me, it's like one of my favorite photos I've ever taken, but I really see it as like a symbol of the beginning of my journey to exploring, you know, LGBTQ plus themes. And I feel like as artists, a lot of the time, you don't ever complete a project. You always open yourself up to something and are constantly exploring it. And this really felt like that for me, you know? And yeah, and so what was really exciting was a couple of years after that, I was able to display it at the Saatchi Gallery in the education room and talk a bit about it. And yeah, that was really cool. And also after, obviously, you know, as I kept working and building my portfolio, something that I was really interested in was turning the lens onto myself and maybe exploring more personal topics. And something that I did explore with this photo and, you know, other photo series where I've put myself in front of the camera has been, you know, my experiences as a biracial person, my experiences as a plus size person. So overall, I think, you know, my work has always been about representation and really about creating work that I would have benefited from seeing as a young kid. And that's been something that I've always had at the back of my mind, and I've always wanted to, you know, continue creating in that way. So yeah, that's the end. And yeah, thank you. I know that was a bit short, but yeah.
Short but sweet, Alia. It was fantastic. It was brilliant. If we could do a round of applause, we would. Exactly. We're all doing it, even if you don't hear everybody. Exactly. It was fantastic. Your images are beautiful and your journey is inspirational too. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will come back to you at the end. Now we're going to see the work of Callum. When you're ready, Callum, if you could share your screen and unmute yourself.
I'm ready now. So I'll just introduce myself. I'm Callum Leo Hughes. I'm also from the UK. Originally from Cornwall. Then I studied photography at Camberwell College of Art in London and stayed there for a few more years. And I've now been in Berlin for almost 5 years now. So I will show you some of the stuff I've been doing. So, okay, and then can everybody see that now? Yeah, great. So I'll start off with something I actually made last year. So it was a book project that I made kind of in collaboration actually with two friends. So the title is If You're Not Wearing Gloves, You're Not Doing Drag. And this is actually about the similarities of leather fetish and drag. So it was, I wrote a text with Emra, who was actually the model for the book. So he was modeling in all the photos, and then we wrote a text together kind of on the topic of, the kind of similarities between kind of leather fetish and also drag. And it's also a lot more about the performativity of hyper masculinity and hyper femininity. So I'll just talk over all of my projects quite quickly because I wanted to get through as many as I could in the 10 minutes. But I think for me, it was great because we actually made the series together, and it was just to kind of make a series of photos together in kind of a more of a kind of a loose, playful way, and in a really nice way. Like Alia said, it was just in my house, it was in our home, but the photos came out so well that it was possible to kind of use these and have a big enough series to work together to produce a book. And then working with another friend, Lind, who did all of the graphic design for the books. It was a real collaboration between the three of us, which I think is, for me, talking about representation is something that's very important, is to be able to work with people kind of that are your friends or in your community or and be able to kind of, use each other's skills and really kind of play off that. And I think that's something really nice to me, and it sounds similar to Alia was talking about with some of the models and some of the things. So I think that's quite important for me. And then this was also installed in an exhibition, and this is, I think, 1.5 meters by 1 meter, and it's actually printed on PVC with some kind of chain links, so very, very fetishy to go with the theme of the thing. And then I'll show you, because I actually do a bunch of kind of artistic different practices. But say I do a lot of installation work and mainly photography based, and found image based and things from the internet. But I'll talk specifically more about my own personal photographic practice for this. And at the moment, I've been really shooting a lot more digital over the last several years. So everything I'll be showing you is digital. Or if anyone wants to ask me any very specific photography questions at the end, you can ask that. But I'll just be more general about the projects at the moment. So I will skip to this one, which was actually more like a fashion photo shoot, which ended up in Callum magazine on their website. But I just wanted to share this because, again, this was nice to be able to have a whole queer creative team, actually. So all of the models and also the stylist, and I think both of the designers, but I'm not 100% sure on that, so I don't want to confirm that. But everyone that was kind of working on the set that day was queer, and it was nice that we'd been able to kind of create this ourselves, and it was something that we wanted to work on together because everyone had actually been at home. This was in, I think, it was the summer last year, so it was just after everything with the lockdown. So everyone was very kind of eager to work, and the whole point of the shoot was that we were kind of doing the shoot, but with everyone keeping their distance and following the current regulations at that time. But what was really nice to be able to, just kind of involve people that have been kind of working from home, and especially talking about representation, that people, not seeing people in public and not really seeing anyone and not seeing any friends. So it was nice to be able to kind of work with several people and be able to take some photos, and also, just show that everyone was still here and we're all still existing, even though no one had been out the house in a long time or seeing each other. So, and you can see the rest on the Callum website for this, but I'll just go on to another project. So, I also wanted to show this project. So this was with a kind of performer, and he also does contortions as my friend Roll. And again, this was just working together and wanting to kind of experiment and take some photos. But the photos ended up being shown on Pineapple magazine. And so this was just, again, like trying to kind of work with people that I consider as a very kind of exceptional person and just a really incredible performer. So I think for me, it's always very interesting when I find that someone's just so exceptional, to be able to show that to other people, and to be able to document this through photography. And I think that's something that kind of recurs in a lot of my thing, is finding these people and finding them very, very talented at kind of different things they do, or the way they kind of are with their body. And for example, this next series is it was a friend's performance that I was taking the photos of, but it was, again, sort of it was for a performance art festival in Berlin. But again, everyone here is really amazing performers. So I think it's nice to be able to kind of represent this, and it was a really quite inclusive cast that they had. So it was a very quite dynamic performance, and also had opera singers and dancers and people with different body types, skin tones. So it was a very it was a really special performance, this one. So I'll just quickly click through those. And then, yeah, so the next one I want to talk about is, again, working with a friend of mine. And this is one I'll just click through, but this is one we did with some cabbage leaves, actually, which it's actually, again, turned out really well. And it's, yeah, someone that's very special to me. So it's nice to be able to kind of share this and kind of represent these people in a way that having an intimate connection with people, I think, is sort of helpful for me. And I like that you know, you can have like Ali was saying, kind of in your home or something, because it can be a bit more relaxed. And this next project I'm going to talk about, I would say, was less relaxed and was actually quite political. So Fadaji works as a performance artist, and we actually went to Bucharest in 2018, which is in Romania. And the reason we went is that they were having a referendum, so a kind of a countrywide vote about changing the constitution to frame a married couple as only a biological man and biological woman, which it didn't pass, which is very good. But essentially, if it would have done, it would have meant in the future a lot of problems for gay families or people to be able to adopt, or if there's anyone was trans, they wouldn't be ever considered to be as a real family, which is obviously horrendous. So we actually went there, just me and him, and he did this performance through the city where he was kind of dressed in these heels and kind of other clothing, a kind of a mixture of gendered clothing, to just talk about, you know, the kind of, well, not like irrelevance of gender, because obviously that's kind of very important, but in this situation that he was just trying to portray that any gender can be part of a family, and that was an integral to this kind of idea of a family, like a specific gender or assigned gender. So these are some photos I took because he was doing the performance. And then, yeah, so I think this was very important to be able to show this and to show that he was doing this, and also to generate some attention. But we generated a lot of attention and actually almost both got arrested. And it was a bit of a tricky moment with the Romanian police with their guns and everything. But after that, it was we got away, and they didn't take my camera, so the photos still succeeded and exist. Yeah, and also, so here's some pictures that I took at Folsom, which is in Berlin, and also in San Francisco, the Folsom Street Fair. So I just quickly flick through these, which is, yeah, obviously some just photos from the day and some of the people that were at the event. But it just goes through quite nicely, because I also wanted to show you something else I did, and I'll just talk very quickly about the next thing I do, which is actually called Homo Homeware. So it uses like a lot of my photography and a lot of the photos I take to produce things for the home. So this idea of having all of these items and then being able to have it in your home, and you can kind of live with it every day. And it's, you know, people can walk into your house and it's very obvious that you're very queer. And so I just clicked through some of the products. So yeah, there's prints. I've got some blankets, I think. So yeah, here's one of the blankets that I make, which is obviously a big hairy butt, which I think is nice for a lot of people to have in their house. So yeah, this is more of like a fun element of some of the things I do. I have this Be Gay, Do Crime print, which also have on a t-shirt, and yeah, just a selection of different things you might see behind me. Some of the other things, so there's one of the towels and one of the blankets, and yeah, just trying to have a selection of prints, but also having a selection of different like body types, and as much as possible, and trying to be as inclusive as possible with it, and kind of trying to expand that as much as I can. So now it's yeah, I think now I'm kind of working on some more of this, and the more photography I do, it kind of feeds into this as well, to have the photography that's not so much in the fine art context, but it can be more fun and more playful and just in the home as well. So yeah, I think that's probably me for now. I think that's my time's up. So I will stop sharing my screen now.
Thank you, Callum. That was brilliant. And I think your work is a perfect example of the representation of pride and celebrating during this special month. So I'm so happy that you shared your work with us. It's fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, so now we're going to go over, save our questions, any questions we have for Callum, and go over to Anjum. Can't wait to hear about the great work that you've been doing in the community.
I've got to tell you, I just cannot top that, any of that, Alia, Callum, how inspiring and wonderful. And it's really kind of really links to me about a theme in terms of why you do, why this work gets done. And it gets done to show those positive images. It gets done to do that conclusion of inclusion. It should be the starting point, it should be the middle, and it should absolutely be any end point in any project. So really lovely to see all of that. You know, I'm from a different pathway. My creativity lies in that wanting to really commit to community and activism. And for, you know, I'm sort of going about this in a reverse order for me. When I first came to London from Bradford, I joined a board of trustees, the London Black Women's Project, New Nation Women's Project, as an activist around violence against women and girls. And very much realised quite quickly that in terms of a lot of that community activism, there was just a lot of, you know, queer identifying, lesbian identifying, gay identifying women, and ultimately just thinking about those communities and then thinking about actually how we build on some of that work and how we don't get invisibilized. And I felt through, you know, when I first, you know, this is going back some decades now, just the, you know, how easy it was to be invisibilized, and just the importance of not being so. So in many ways, then, you know, come back, that, you know, come forward 30 years, ultimately Queer Britain and joining the board of Queer Britain became just something that felt quite easy and natural, because it's a political organisation, because they, you know, it's full of people that are activists, people that are saying, look, where are the stories of lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, queer plus people? You know, we know them, they're in our hearts, they're hidden in the archives, you know, personal collections in the memories of the living. And wanting to do that, we wanted to do that, you know, especially for those who are not white male. You know, just those valuable records, those testimonies, artifacts that are currently at risk of being lost, you know, and alongside those who have that lived history. So, you know, obviously, look, once gone, you know, once they're gone, once we're gone, they're just not going to be recovered. So basically, we wanted to set something up. Queer Britain's, the ethos of that is actually, you know, that understanding of these very hard-won rights, actually, you know, we've secured them, but they can so easily be lost. And that's a very, you know, politically where that motivation is from. And of course, I'm involved with Imam because Muslims are, they are lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, and have queer identities, of course. And we know that at Imam because we've supported thousands of our community and people. And diversity and intersectionality, well, they're the thrust of Queer Britain's projects: specific voices, people of colour, disabled people, trans people, non-binary people, and broader categories, asexual, pansexual. You know, we don't live single issue lives, as Audre Lorde said. We have multiple issues, multiple oppressions. So actually collecting history is part of that. History gives our modern day. And just hearing Alia and Callum and the work that you're doing, Bella and Sadi here, it felt to me like actually you're making now what will be our history, and how powerful and how proud we should be of that. And you know, a great element of that, because, you know, I guess more than anything, reclaiming the past for us at Queer Britain, you know, gives us that preservation of the present, and it inspires the future. And the COVID pandemic has really shown more clearly than ever just the importance that people place on the importance of experiencing culture, if you like, and the each other physically. So having a physical place for us at the museum is really important. And Alia talked a little bit about how we're doing that, those separate little projects. You know, digital technology is important, but it is really inspiring when it, you know, exhibits, when it enhances a physical space, and of course vice versa. And there's no greater or more engaging way of creating a sense of belonging to community than experiencing it in its physical presence. For us like that, you know, ultimately, with Queer Britain, we want it to be a mixture of permanent and temporary galleries to allow that co-collaboration and collaborative curation. So that's where we're going with Queer Britain. And of course, just thinking about, as Alia already talked about, our chosen family photography exhibition. And of course, thinking about just some of the work that we've been doing here: Gay Pride, Pink Plastic Balloon Badge, Costume for Sink the Pinks Glyn Fussell, Prison Made Tapestry. We basically pulled together those collections. And I'm bringing this up. This is Baroness Barker, and this is just a quote from that. And ultimately, I think we want to be, of course, we will be the first national museum focused on lesbian, gay, trans, queer plus people, gathering, exploring, celebrating their stories, making their stories, histories, bringing their history and artifacts. And of course, for us as well, we will have an educational agenda. We'll definitely want that. You know, I was around in the time of the Section 28, and just the importance of having an agenda that runs through schools, whereby we are not invisibilized, for us is really important. And museums, they're social, they're cultural places and spaces to make people feel a part of something that is larger than themselves. So that's what we're doing here, just thinking by realigning, relocating, revisioning, and putting the queerest past into our present and our future is where we're going. And I just pulled up some images from our website and some of the work that we've been doing in terms of the collections. This was our lockdown hunt, and it was basically a lockdown project with a Twitter takeover with guest interviews. Because look, everybody's home is a mini museum with personal treasures that are on display, and we just don't want to forget those histories, if you like. So this is where we were going with that, just thinking, you know, from flyers to badges, t-shirts, postcard, you know, those trivial items. We're collecting them. They're absolutely rich with stories, of course. You know, interviewees gave us an insight into their lives and work, discussing everything from queer life and pride under lockdown to Black Lives Matter and the reformation of the Gender Recognition Act. So we did that work, and we've been doing that work, and of course important for us to continue with that kind of work. We're in terms of Imam, I just wanted to also bring some of that work up and bring some of that work to light. Thinking about how we are in Imam, just in terms of our the LGBTQ Muslim support, and you can see here we've got Imam where we were at Pride. We are as I said, an LGBTQI plus charity, and also, you know, just run by trustees, run by volunteers. There's no, there's no paid interns, no paid staff. We actually do this work, and we work within our community, and we work to bring our community into, into vision, into the spotlight, if you like. Of course, for us, it's absolutely right to be working outside of our communities, inside of our communities, and bringing together, of course, our communities. You know, it is our absolute God-given right to celebrate and document our history. And I'm very, very proud to be part of that. Of course, we're united. United, we are just power, and of course, you don't have to be Muslim to support Imam. You don't have to be Muslim LGBTQI to be an ally of Imams or to be an ally of this work that's being showcased today. This is us, this is for our future generations, those conversations about who we are and how we represent. And actually we have a rainbow hijab that went into the Queer Britain collection as well. And we're activists. So just in terms of that, my journey, my personal journey through activism has brought me some fabulous connections creatively, and being creative I found has been very, very powerful in terms of activism and working about that. This is from, of course, Black Pride. And then I wanted to just bring up New Emotion Women's Project and London Black Women's Project, because it's where I started, and recognising the importance of community, the importance of joining up, and the importance of joining up some of those intersectional identities. So I just wanted to bring that up. Of course, activism, it motivates me, it inspires me, it gets me to do the work that I do, and I think inclusion is a big theme of that. And then I just wanted to bring up, of course, it gets you involved with lots of creative insights. So that's me, and that's the way that I operate. Thank you for giving me this platform.
Thank you so much, Anjum. That was so inspirational. And thank you for the work that you're doing in the community. Happy Pride, definitely. And I want Anjum to, well, firstly, we're going to please put your questions in the chat, or be prepared to unmute and ask a question. While we're just waiting for people to do that, I just wanted to ask you, Anjum, talking about all of the amazing projects you're involved with at Queer Britain, Iman, London Black Women's Project, how can any creatives or non-creatives get involved in those projects?
Oh God, what a fantastic question. Just get involved, rock up, go on our websites, look us up, decide where you want to be an ally, and write to people that are working in the projects or that are involved with the projects, and tell us what you'd like to contribute. It's really that. It's like anybody can join our project, anybody can be an ally, and that kind of support is absolutely fantastic. At the moment at Imam, every Thursday, and for obviously this month of Pride, we're running events that are online. So please just go on our website, check us out. And any which way, any contributions, some of the work that we're showcasing here, some of the work that you do, Bella, showcase that. Let us showcase that. Let us promote some of our events by using your creativity. People love creativity, and it's such a connector. It is like it is like breaking bread for the heart and the mind. So I love that.
Thank you very much. Definitely. And that's, I think, the future really, is that everyone supports each other and we get involved to share voices. That's what all this is all about. So thank you so much, Anjum. Okay, so over to you, everybody. If anybody would like to ask a question, so Anjum, if you can stop sharing so that I can thank you, see everybody. Yes, so if you would like to unmute your mic, or in the reactions button at the below, you can just raise a hand so that we can see. Just check. Everyone's very quiet today. No questions yet.
Hi, sorry, I don't know how to put my hand up.
It's all right. Go ahead, Scarlett.
Hi, I was just wondering. I don't know whether I've missed this. Somebody might have said it. But does anyone who just spoke, do they have any exhibitions going on in London at the minute that I could go to?
for Queer Britain, a lot of our work at the moment is online, and we've been running some events, if you like, online. So please check out our website. And of course, as I said, Imam, we've got some online gatherings, but no, we don't have exhibitions at the moment.
Okay, thank you. I'll definitely have a look. Thank you.
Callum?
Hi, I don't actually have anything in London, but I just thought I would take the opportunity to say over the CDS weekend, which is the Pride Parade in Berlin, and at the end of July, that I'll be part of an exhibition at Pride Art Ateliers. So if you go on my Instagram, you'll be able to find information about that later, and I'll also potentially be in something else that's to be confirmed. So yeah, when it's the Pride weekend stuff in Berlin, there's going to be a lot going on here. So hopefully I'll see some of you there, or you can see the pictures of what I do on my Instagram.
Thank you. Yeah, I've followed. Thank you.
Alia?
About the exhibitions, I don't have any because I'm in India at the moment, but hopefully, I don't know, in the next year there'll be something that comes up. But yeah, I just saw a question in the comments for me. That's what equipment and software do you use for all your projects? And for me, usually equipment and softwares don't really matter. As I said in the presentation, like, my approach is completely DIY. So literally whatever I can get for free is great. I don't really think that like a camera model or type of software really affects. I mean, obviously it helps to a certain extent, but I think especially when you're finding your style and experimenting with what it is you want to say, that's probably the least important thing. But I do work with a mix of digital and analog. And so for my analog process, I handprint sometimes I scan. And then for digital, really, I don't know, I like it. It kind of, it's based on aesthetically what I feel looks good, and I really just play around with softwares, but really none of that matters. It's more experimenting with what you have, and you know how you can, and how you can improve it with what you already have, if that makes sense. Yeah.
That does, thank you. And actually that's a really important point, and I'm glad that your approach is DIY. Really, we promote that TPF. It's not about the kit, you know, we really encourage accessibility. It's about the ideas, and you can use anything to do that. Sometimes photography can be inaccessible when people look at the cost of cameras out there. I'm quite passionate about that. And it can be very restrictive to people expressing their creativity. But for me, it's the last on the list of what's important. So thank you for that. Any other questions?
Hi, I don't know how to ask a question. I'm on my phone, so. Is that me? Am I?
Yes, Richard,
good
go
to
ahead.
ask a question? Thank you. So I was wondering about, like, how do you guys, like, I came very late, so I'm very sorry, but I'm going to ask a question that I have my own self. How do you guys find about, like, kind of like owning your style and kind of swaying towards people who may hire you for things? Do you get my question? The kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, who'd like to respond to that? So you were saying how to own your style.
Yeah, like, creating your style, and then kind of like working with, like, you know, someone that's gonna, you know, commission you as such, but, like, you know, kind of like, that's not your style. How do you find a way to kind of, you know, I mean, it's a hard question. I find it hard myself.
I think it's a great question, Richard, especially in the light of what we're talking about today, which is about representation, you know, and when you have a particular, your work is very much related to your own politics and interests, you know, how do you represent that when people are commissioning your work? It's a great question. Who'd like to respond to that? Alia?
Callum, do you want to go first, and then I'll go after you?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can. I think it's probably something we both have to say. something on. But I would just say, from my kind of thing, something that it's just, if you're going to be just doing what you really love, people are going to hire you for doing that because you're going to be more passionate about it. But also, I mean, as I said, I did study photography at university, so I guess I have a kind of a more of like a grounds or basis understanding. But I think Alia and Belly, you were saying, is like, you can just kind of just do stuff and kind of be doing as much as you can, putting stuff online. And as I was saying, the books I make is like also self-published, which as well is like another nice thing you could do to kind of like cut the middleman out of all of this stuff. But I think, yeah, when you're talking about, I would say if you're going to try and bend your work too much to try and get a job, I would say it's probably better to just do your own thing and just do what you want, and then people will come to you more. And you can always have projects, and I obviously do have more commercial things of when I've done stuff for friends or I've done stuff for other people, so I have this that I don't necessarily put online, but I have like a separate photography website that has more of just like maybe more commercial things. But I think this stuff just like kind of comes up also, like just as the more photography you're taking, you might have done more clothing stuff or fashion stuff or more objects or more events or whatever, so you can then kind of group that together as you kind of go along. But I wouldn't focus so much on trying to create a style that is appealing to get jobs. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I definitely agree with everything you just said. For me, I'm a self-taught photographer. So the way I started kind of experimenting with style was really by working with friends and people I knew. So I could be in an environment that I was already comfortable with. And then, the people around me trusted me to kind of like execute my vision rather than having an expectation or a preconceived notion about what it would be like. I definitely have done projects as well that, wasn't my style at all, and it's more just like to get paid. There's like that, but I think that if you really are looking for projects to put in your portfolio and, to kind of attach your name to, only do projects that you feel are true to yourself and honest, like, and stories that are honest, or yeah, just visuals that are honest and genuine to you. And then as you grow your body of work, I think definitely what Callum said, people come to you. Like as soon as you explore, and I think developing your style as well, that takes time. Every project you do you're going to want to change something, or you're going to find something that really works for you and that you're going to use, in your next project. And that time and practice and kind of like dedicating yourself to like understanding where your influences come from and what story you're trying to tell is an amalgamation of like what your aesthetic style will be in the end, and why people would come to you at a certain point. But yeah, it takes time, but don't put pressure on yourself with that kind of thing. I think that as soon as you work with people you vibe with, like that was a big thing for me, even if it wasn't like necessarily my friends, just like finding other people to collaborate with, like makeup artists, stylists, or even, if the team was really small, just having people with the same aesthetic vision or even like values helped me massively, because then there was trust already, even if I didn't know entirely what I was doing in that moment. Yeah.
Can I just jump in there? Just in terms of, so some of the work that we've done at London Black Women's Project, New Nation Women's Project, has been worked with photographers. So annual reports, like our public documents, essentially, we're also working, aren't we, to raise the profile about some of the salient issues that we work on: violence against women and girls, self-harm in terms of young Asian women. If we look at some of our projects in terms of some of our creative projects for Imam, we work quite collaboratively with people that present to us an idea about what they'd like to showcase, maybe on a digital platform. So people really coming, emailing us with ideas about, could I do this? Could we work on this in partnership? I've got an idea about where we might be able to secure some funding from to be able to do this. I've run a number of projects, photography books, projects whereby artists have just got in touch and said, I really value the work that your organisation does. I've got an idea to profile it in this way. You know, so the work of Vicky Couchman, the work of Paminda Sekon, the work of Fezan, these are artists that have just really said, I've got something to offer your project because I like what you do and my values link with your values. Yeah, and if we've had funding, then we've put it out in a way, a tender out in a way that we invite people who align with our values. When I first worked with Vicky Couchman, this is going back some time now, literally we had like a 2-line advert in the paper for a photographer, and she came to the project and she just wouldn't let it go. She came every day, she bought pictures, she bought books, she wouldn't, and she really got kind of brought us into her values and our values and really aligned. She looked nothing like us. You know, we were a Black women's project and this white woman came and said, I can do this and I'll tell you how I'm going to do it. And actually, she was a great ally. She really, really did capture what we wanted caught in that moment, and it really worked. But she was really pushy in that really fabulous way where she just engaged us in her vision. We knew nothing about photography, and actually we had some pals who were probably, you know, brilliant photographers, absolutely. But actually she really aligned herself with our vision and outcomes that we wanted. So I would just encourage you, if you've got some of that creativism, if you want to connect with that with some activism, go out there, seek the projects, go online, check to see where they align with your values and collaborate, you know, tell us how we secure funding through that. We can tell you how we might get funding for a project like that. Go for it, be yourself, and, you know, in your being, don't forget the fact that the community needs you. We need your creativity, we need that visual. You're different, you'll represent something. You will save somebody the thought that they are the only one in the world that thinks like that, if you do carry on doing what you're doing.
Thank you, Anjum. Some wise, well, a lot of wisdom shared with us today. Thank you so much. We have a few questions in the chat, but before that, we had Frederick. I was aware that you raised your hand. If you're still here, did you want to ask a question?
Hi, I mean, you kind of answered my question. It was basically about, yeah, how you go about finding commissions, I guess. Like if you approach kind of magazines, like handing in work that you've already done, so to speak, or if you kind of wait for people to approach you.
Callum, go ahead.
So I would say with that, it's always worth just, I mean, presenting it in a way that's very easy and concise for the magazine or whoever it is to look at stuff. So you don't either have it all saved in one big PDF so they can look at all the photos or have the photos attached and always, it's very clear and a very short, succinct text. But I would always say it's always just worth, you know, getting in contact, and most magazines have an open submission, specific email. You just have to go on their website or find who you need to be sending the emails to. And I think, yeah, it's definitely great to be just doing that yourself. And just, if you have something that you think works with a specific magazine, and if it hasn't been shown, I would say it's always, if you have like kind of an exclusive series, that maybe it's better to think about contenting the magazine before you put it on Instagram or before you share it anywhere else, just because that maybe gives a little bit of an extra reason for them to show your work. So it's something that's kind of a good that you can use as well. I mean, obviously, if you don't want to hang on to stuff for so long, so if they don't want to show it, you can obviously always then self-promote that anyway, but it's good to kind of take that opportunity. And in the past, that's kind of worked for me. So it was just one thing I thought I'd share.
Definitely the same for me. It's been a bit of both, where magazines contact me and want me to do a project for them, and then also me contacting magazines. The way I did it was, when I started and I basically didn't know anyone and, you know, had very little work in my portfolio, I approached like very, very small print magazines or like online zines, and started working and kind of like building my way up. And so, you know, after some time, I was able to work with like larger magazines or get like the cover of another indie magazine, and it kind of like moved up that way. like during the pandemic, because I haven't been working like actively as much, I had a lot of unpublished work, and I found that in terms of like licensing or even, you know, submitting it to magazines, unpublished work was great, because I could kind of like use whatever I'd had in my archives, exactly what Callum said. But also the magazines that are happy to take on work that you've already published, just so, you know, or, you know, even online features, like that kind of helps a bit as well. So if you're featured like in an article or, you know, on their website in some way, there's also that opportunity to work with them in print in the future. So there are like tons of different avenues, and it's definitely important to, I guess, start small and grow, but then that doesn't mean you don't have to like also aim for the bigger ones as well. You never know, it could surprise you. So I guess like, yeah, dip your hands in like many pots and see what comes of it, really.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. So I'm aware that we're just gone 7. So if anyone needs to run right now, run. Otherwise, we will. Anjum, are you?
I'm going to make a dash. I've just put that in the chat. Thanks so much. Thank you very, very much. Yeah. Enjoy. And I am going to watch the footy. Don't hate me. Bye-bye. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the invite. Cheerio. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, Anjum. So I won't keep anyone much longer because I'm aware the footy's on. I was told actually the footy's on tonight. But I wanted to say firstly, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We had a couple of questions in the chat, but I think that we can definitely reach out to the wonderful artists that we had today over Instagram, if that's okay with them, you know, DM them. Thank you so much. Ask questions, build your network. That's so important. So apologies if we didn't get to your question. Thank you so much to our wonderful artists in Anjum for joining us tonight and supporting us at TPF and the wider community. Your work continues to inspire us and is definitely raises the voices of communities that are so dear to our heart at TPF. So we really, really appreciate you sharing your work with us today. Stay in touch with them. Their Instagrams were shared in the chat. So please do check out their websites, check out their amazing work, and let them continue to inspire us. Please stay in touch with us at TPF by signing up to our mailing list, which is on our website, and following us too, if you would like to, on our social channels. Next month, on July the 13th, we'll be centering the voices of women in photography. This time we'll be in our East London studio in Hackney. You can find out more and book your ticket already. Sadie will pop a link in the chat to where you can book your ticket. And a reminder that our training program has launched. You know, someone asked a question about the training program. Definitely happy to answer any questions about that. Just didn't want to take up the space today. So yeah, you can sign up for that on our website already, or drop us an email to ask any questions. So once again, thanks for joining our community, and I hope to see you in person next month in July, definitely. And we'd love to showcase the work of Callum and Alia at any time at TPF as well. So please do stay in touch with us. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. Enjoy the football.